public discourse now, or the way the events of June 30th and July 3rd are perceived, I mean, you can either call it a revolution or a coup. No other options are there. And I think this is wrong, because it's not a revolution and it is not a coup. My problem with calling it a revolution or a coup is, I mean, for me this is more of counter-revolution. And there's a huge difference between a coup and the counter-revolution. A coup is a very incidental thing. You dehistoricize the entire process to call it a coup. It's an event that took place at one single particular moment of intervention of the military. If it was a coup, it would have been easily toppled, like what we've seen, for instance, in Latin America in several incidents. It is counter-revolution because counter-revolution is a historical process that takes place over a longer period of time. And enabling this counter-revolution was only through Morsi and his policies. Empowering the counter-revolutionary forces, empowering the military, empowering the police, empowering until his very last days, empowering these institutions, oppressing revolutionary components of the society, in terms of legislation, in terms of actual policies, in terms of physical oppression of people, in terms of his discourse and the way it has caused the split within the revolutionary front. He has for a year been empowering counter-revolutionary forces, and I mean, causes lead to effects. I mean, you cannot just look at the events of July 3rd without looking at this historical process. So for me, for people like myself, the military and the Brotherhood are two sides of the same coin. This is the counter-revolutionary force. Those are the status quo forces that want to maintain a highly oppressive, highly centralized state, be it with uniform or with a beard. I don't care much about that. It's the entire idea of state identity is counter-revolutionary, because for me a revolution means that the state does not have an identity, that the society has identities. And we in Cairo probably don't feel that much problem with state identity, but the ideal citizen for an Egyptian state, the state that they call moderate, the ideal citizen of this state is upper middle class, male, Muslim, from Cairo, with specific religious views. I mean, religious, but in a very specific way. The further you get from that, the more oppressed you are in this country. So if you are from a more popular class, if you are a Nubian or a Bedouin, if you are a non-Muslim, if you're a female, if you have a different form of religiosity, even be it an Islamist, then you are oppressed by this state, because we need to unify the society. This is the main assumption of that state. This is why Bedouins, for instance, don't get to join the military. This is why Copts don't get to make it to senior positions in the military, and so on and so forth. So for me, I comfortably call what happened a further step in the empowerment of the counter-revolution, but it is nonetheless unsustainable for so many reasons. Most importantly, and the one reason that is, I mean, it makes me very comfortable that this is not sustainable, is the economic conditions of the country. We are unfortunately living in a fascist moment, and by fascist moment, fascism, Egyptians deal with fascism as if it's an insult. So if somebody is very bad, very authoritarian, you call him fascist. This is wrong. Fascism is a mode of governance, a particular mode of governance with very specific characteristics. So the Brotherhood, for instance, were not fascists, not because they didn't want to be fascists, but because they couldn't. They were right-wing, authoritarian, incompetent political players, but not fascists, because fascism requires a monopoly over the oppressive and ideological institutions in the state, and they never had monopoly over the military, never had monopoly over the police, or over Al-Azhar or the church. This does not make them any better. Again, they were not fascists, not because they did not want to, but because they couldn't become fascists. But now we are living at a moment of fascism, and fascism feeds primarily on the middle class, the professional middle class, and the petty bourgeois. This is the backbone of any fascist movement. and in order to be able to secure to maintain this support, this base of support, you need to provide for them. And the economic conditions of Egypt, the deteriorating economic conditions, will not allow for providing for these foundation, very important socio-economic classes, and therefore this fascism is not sustainable. But that does not mean either that we can easily get rid of it, because we need an alternative. As we speak, there is no alternative, and the Brotherhood is not an alternative. The Brotherhood cannot come back to power. The fascist moment has reached its peak and is on the decline already, but the Brotherhood is also on the decline. It cannot be an alternative. It will not be able to act as an alternative. It has been exposed. The fascist moment is being exposed at the moment, but the Brotherhood has been exposed already, and they cannot provide an alternative. So as long as we do not work on creating alternative, primarily on a local level, through engaging in local activities, local government, municipalities, unions, and things of that sort, professional and local unions or forms of action, then it will last. But it will last not in the traditional fascist sense, but we will reach higher levels of ungovernability, chaos, particularly in the periphery. So as the military would get weaker, it would concentrate on the centers, on big cities, while the periphery would be, they would shrink, and they would not have power over the periphery. And this is already, I mean, over the past couple of months, I've been going to lecture at different universities outside Cairo, and you can already see that. You can already see that the presence of the military or the presence of the state is much weaker than it was before, and in the absence of alternative, this leads to very chaotic, I mean, it's very dangerous. It's very dangerous.